Produced by Podcast Architects.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, any animals or smart devices that may be listening as well, welcome to another exciting episode of Get Better at Business. We're here to learn. We are here to get some great lessons about how we can all be a little bit better. Focusing today on one of my favorite topics, talking about teamwork with Mr. Roy Homfeld. Roy, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. It's a pleasure to be a part of your podcast, and I follow and listen to it, and hopefully I can offer some guidance or advice.
Well, I trust that you can. First bit of advice. So as we are recording this, and we obviously always a little bit of a delay from recording time to when it gets posted, but we're approaching the Christmas season. Just what do you guys? What do you guys do for the holidays, like at work? Like, what do y'all do anything to make it kind of feel special for the employees? Y'all like Christmas party people? Or you present people? Like, what do y'all do for your team?
Yeah, we do. We always try to do fun activities, try to keep a cohesive group together, make sure that employees are coming to work and enjoying work as well as being productive. So for the holidays, we just finished up our Christmas party. Where we went out, we had a nice dinner, went to the ice experience at the Gaylord, Texas, which is 9 degrees inside there. So we got to learn why we're not in Minnesota doing this type of work. But that was fun. We also, in a couple of weeks, we're going to do eggnog and cookies for all of our customers. So we post and send out the invitation to all of our previous customers for the year and invite them to come in and socialize and we'll have eggnog and cookies. And then same day, we do Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. So anybody who drops in the office will get to see us in full decor.
Wow.
So that's a good time. And we this year we also are implementing a Secret Santa gift as well.
Cool. So
it's always fun.
Y'all are I know that every industry is different, and so is this do y'all get an opportunity at the holidays to take a little bit of time off, shut down for a few extra days, or is it, just kind of, does your business not really allow that because you're wound up right now?
Yeah. I mean, traditionally our business has been, typically after Halloween, we start to see a little bit of a slowdown in leads and customers. And then we're trying to wrap up, projects before the end of the year. So things kind of taper off, which gives us time to reflect, visit. A lot of people take PTO, take care of the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So as we approach Christmas, things get a little slower around the office. People are in and out as far as PTO, taking time off. But usually the day after Christmas, it seems like everybody has sat around their house, decided that, the kitchen didn't work, or they had a bunch of family over, they need to expand the patio, something that needs to change. And so normally the day after Christmas through the first of the year is when we have our biggest influx of calls. Typically, our business spikes as far as leads go, probably spikes in early January.
But I hadn't thought about that, but I guess I'm curious to know, and I guess before you answer this question, just give the folks a little bit of a background on your business and what you do. For those of you who have not gleaned this yet or have not researched our guest before signing in and listening, is Roy is in the custom home design business and doing new construction, also doing some remodels, but I'm curious as to whenever you're talking to a client, how often do the holidays and special occasions come up in their vision for what they want their home to be, where it's you're talking to somebody and they say things like, anytime I've ever, moved into a new place, my mom, who loves Christmas, is always asking well, where are you going to put the tree? And, so things like that, or it's just we really want a place where we can have people and host people. How big of a thing is that? I guess, tell us a little bit, just, a little bit more background on the business. And then I guess just answer that question of, how big of a deal is the holidays for people when they're thinking about the vision for where they want to be?
Sure. Yeah, it's huge. And it's seasonal. So it's funny. We come out of Christmas, everybody wants storage. We need more storage because they went and bought a bunch of holiday, decor. We get a lot of requests for Christmas tree closets. So they just want to be able to put the tree in a closet and shut the door and pull it out again next year. So that's a big request come January, February. During the summers, everybody wants patios. They want the big, expansive outdoor barbecue area. Where they're going to, put the pool. And then as we approach the fall, it's more sometimes energy conscious. People want to know, how are we going to save energy, or we have leaky drafts, or I get in my shower, it currently, is drafty. How are we going to prevent that in the next home? So, seasonally, the customers come in, we're always working on current issues that they're facing in their house. But yeah, guest party, holidays are always, we need a bigger dining room, we need a bigger living room, or we need an expansive place to expand to. So yeah, it's fun. We design about 150 to 200 custom homes a year, and every one is unique. Sometimes our custom homes might be 12 or 1,500 square foot. Sometimes they're 10,000 plus square foot. But each person has their own, needs or wants, and everybody has family involved. So there's usually something in the home design that revolves around family or a pet. So it's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also just, very cool. And, especially, I guess, you mentioned bringing in your customers or whatever, that, customers that you've had, maintain those relationships, kind of throughout the project and after over. Do y'all get, do you get Christmas cards and stuff like that from satisfied customers where you're kind of getting to see the results of what you guys have provided for them and their families?
Yeah, absolutely. It's usually, we always ask them when we finish the plans, when, once you finish your house, send us a photo. And a lot of times we get forgotten. They've gone through 9 or 10 months or 12 months here lately of construction, headaches, things that happen with subcontractors, and they forget about the architect who, originally drew the plan. But during Christmas, we surprisingly, and it's always, one sometimes you least expect, but we'll get a Christmas card from a customer that had a great experience and, wish us well and send a picture of their family and their new home. So it's always nice to see. And then we, likewise, we try to get our customers back in. I'd say 90% of our business comes from referrals. So we definitely try to take care of, previous customers and builders and realtors that provide us business all year long.
Yeah. Well, and I know that, something as you and I have talked about the sort of the beginnings of your business, it's hard to do something more impactful than making a really, really good first impression. And I know that from the early days of your business, sort of presenting people with something that they could see, the 3D renderings back in the day, whenever most people are basically, drawing stuff, flat on a piece of paper where you're having to, just kind of imagine it. Meanwhile, you guys are showing that. And so was it something that you went into intentionally whenever you're setting up this business of like, hey, this is something that we want to do to be this cutting edge deal? Or was it something that, I guess, were you surprised at how impactful that was on your customers whenever you first started doing it?
Yeah, when we started 16 years ago, 3D design, what you see on HGTV today wasn't normal for our area back then. And so we met with a lot of customers who had never seen that, builders who had never seen that. And obviously we got into home design because we have a passion for home design and we wanted to create, new custom homes. But the 3D aspect of it has been huge and really catapulted our business in the early stages, because we would get calls like, y'all are the ones that do 3D design, right? Y'all are the ones that I can see my house before it's built. Like, yes, that's the service that we provide. Today, it's a lot more, prevalent. There's a lot more people and businesses that have gone to the 3D design. It cuts down on a lot of mistakes. So we're always trying to make sure that we're on the cutting edge. Videos, now walkthrough videos, where we can send videos to our customers of if you're walking in the front door and you look left or look right, this is what it feels like, as opposed to still images. So we're still working on, and improving our product, but yeah, 3D design really catapulted our business in the early stages.
So what are the things that you do to remain on that kind of on the cutting edge? I know that, the 3D design is something that you brought with you sort of from your engineering background, and it was cutting edge when you first started, but very quickly the rest of the industry sort of caught up. And so, like, what are the things that you're doing on a regular basis to be looking out ahead and saying like, hey, what are the new ways that we're going to be able to wow our customers? I think conferences, you go on, listening to
Yeah,
yeah, just kind of
absolutely.
staying innovative. How do you hack that?
Education,
Hmm.
training and education has always been an important part. We believe in giving our employees time to go to trade shows, go to training seminars. We probably watch 2 to 3 seminars a month. There may be 20 minutes or they may be an hour, but they're from the National Home Builders Association and research groups that say these are the latest trends. We'll take field trips. We've got a great uh, area here in Dallas where we have a lot of suppliers and manufacturers. So we'll go take a look at new tile, new granite, phantom screens, which is a backyard patio cover that comes down remotely so you can get rid of the mosquitoes and provide sunscreen for your patio, and then push a button and it goes back up. So we always trying to, find new materials, new products, go to the manufacturer suppliers places and get, more information so that when our customers come in, we say, hey, your neighbor doesn't have this. This is new. Let's put it into your home and, make your house, the new wow, gee whiz home of the block. And every year we attend the National Home Builders Show, which is held in either Orlando or Vegas, which is both great destinations. But it's 3 days of jam packed. There's between 80 to 100,000 people that attend those shows, and it's just a great place. All the new products are going to be there, and all of our employees go. So it's not just me coming, going and then coming back and telling the employees about it. All the designers, our customer relations manager goes out there, and we just try to get as much information as we can so we can stay on the top, cutting edge. And we inform our builders as well as our customers when we get back.
So, I mean, you answered a question I was going to ask, which is that, what levels of your organization are going. And so
We
I,
take everybody. Yeah.
so did you always do that? Or is that, because I mean, I think the first thing that a lot of people are, and certainly anybody that, owns a business or somebody that feels like they're going to maybe would like to go to one of these conferences and they got to go ask somebody for the money is just, the price tags on these things are not cheap. And so did you always have the mindset of we want to take everybody, or was this something that you were able to grow into over time?
Yeah, I've always wanted to take everybody, and we pretty much have always taken everybody. I mean, I just think it's invaluable. The education and training.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when we're interviewing people, they ask us, what kind of training do you provide? What options are there for additional education? And it's one thing that we can always promote. Like we're heavily involved in training and education, and we want to make sure our employees are at the top. So yeah, we shut our office down for a week for the IBS show. We travel out there, expense. But every time we come back, every employee has so much valuable knowledge that when they sit down with the customer, it's an easy sell. Our customers are happy, and I've just always found it value added. We also, our software we use is Chief Architect, and we try every other year to go out to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which if you've never been there is absolutely gorgeous. But that's usually in end of August, early September, and we'll go out there for a week, go float the river, and then do some software training on the architectural software we use. But again, invaluable knowledge, networking, and I think it's very, very important. I couldn't.
Well, and what we promised the folks when we first started on is, we want to talk teamwork. And I remember you mentioning that, you know, the lesson that you wish that you would have learned earlier was just about the importance of human relations and understanding your team, using some of those tools that, to using some tools to, put some language and some, common understanding to the way that people are ticking. And so I'm curious if this is all of this stuff that you're talking about, is this sort of an outgrowth of the lessons that you've learned about how important human relations are? Or was it doing these things that kind of reinforced to you of like, man, if we're going to be doing this, it's so much more important that we, do some profiling before we bring people on the team. And it's more, to make sure that this is the kind of thing that they want to go do. So just interesting to hear about the evolution of your mindset about human relations, and particularly as it relates to this education and training that you're so heavily invested in with your team.
Yeah. So I started up my career in corporate world in an engineering company, primarily engineering. And we were all, type A engineers, very similar personalities for the most part. And, you just knew how to interact with each other. When I started my own business and started to, hire different different employees, obviously it became much more or it was brought to my attention, I guess, a lot more that, these are very talented people, but they may not think exactly like I do. And I've got to adapt to that if I want to, create that or garner that energy and bring it into our business. So we have started doing like disc profiles that help, not only give feedback about, what kind of employee this person might be, but also how to interact with them and how to make sure that they feel engaged, how they make sure they feel valuable for the company, and that we're getting, the most that we can out of each employee. So, I mean, teamwork's been huge. It's something, as an engineer, even in program management, corporate job, that I really wasn't involved with human relations and HR. And I probably, as a business owner now, especially since we have multiple employees, I spend quite a bit of time, dealing with HR issues. And they're not all negative by any means, but, I mean, people have issues and have problems, and you got to work around them. And having profiles and things like that and help, guide you in what you need to do. But teamwork is super important. And when we interview people, we want to make sure that they're cohesive. We go to lunch. I have a personal interview, whoever they may be working in, whatever area, that person will have an interview with them as well. We always take a team lunch as part of our interview. And so we'll spend an hour. We take everybody out to lunch, as well as the interview candidate. And we just see how, when we get back from that, did everybody was able to interact with the candidate, or was there some weird times in there? And that's important to us because we have to work with each other, 40 hours a week. It's important to be able to get along.
So I've heard some, interesting takes or whatever on the idea of, like kind of understanding your employees and, how do we respond to them, this and that. And, some people that I have talked to have very energetically reminded me that it's like, this is my company. This is my company. And it's like, I'm not going to have to, I shouldn't be just kowtowing to all of the whims of all of these people, sort of the, lunatics running the asylum kind of a thing. And it's just all this and that. And so I like, and certainly to an extent is that, I mean, look, like not everybody is super well suited to work in every single environment. And so I guess, how do you personally ride that line between, I have a culture that we have created here, we want to foster and nurture that or whatever, but we also want to understand these other individuals. And so like, how do you strike that balance of making sure that you don't, you're understanding of all of these other people, but you're also not creating a work environment that you as the owner just hate to go to every day?
Yeah, I think that's the key point right there. I mean, you've got to have some flexibility, and understand that everybody's different, and look at the value added by each employee, and make sure that it's not counterintuitive or counteracting kind of a positive atmosphere that we try to keep in our office. So, I mean, if there's any times where somebody may be straying a little to the left or right, or somebody's getting annoyed in the office, we have to bring it to attention. And we all have to work together and create a positive, cohesive group. But at the same time, I mean, there are so many talented people that don't look like me, that don't act like me, that don't have the same social life as me, didn't go to the same college as me. And those are all things that our customers, especially, I mean, we're working a very diverse group. Whoever comes into our office needs a new home. They all come from various walks of life, various demographics, socioeconomics. Like I said, we do starter homes all the way up to luxury estates. And so we have to have a mindset that everybody's different and unique, and listen to our customers. And I carry that same philosophy with my employees, that I don't go into it looking for a specific style or person. I'm trying to find what value added can they bring to our business. And so, I mean, I think for the most part, we've been successful. Obviously, every business has had some hires or whatever that maybe didn't work out as they had hoped. But for the most part, I think we handled that pretty well.
So as you look back on, some of the folks that, for whatever reason, it just kind of didn't work out. Do you, I guess, how do you look back and reflect on that? How do you reflect on some of these things where it's like, you hired somebody, in a lot of cases, these people are, they're changing companies, maybe sometimes changing careers, maybe they're moving to be a part of this or whatever. And then, after some period of time that was not as long as y'all had either party had hoped. Now you're parting ways. And so I guess, how do you like, I guess just whenever you think back on those times, I mean, just, do you feel guilty? Do you feel, like, well, we gave it a shot and, no harm, no foul? I mean, like, just,
Yeah,
how do you deal with it after the fact?
I mean, I think everybody probably has a little bit of guilt. I mean, you've just uprooted somebody's life, somebody's family. Anytime you've parted ways with somebody before it was time or before they thought it was time, there's definitely, some guilt, some feelings that are, uneasy feelings. I think if that ever became easy, probably my moral compass may be a little off or something, or ethical. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's a business. We have to make business decisions. We got to make sure that, we're not affecting the rest of the employees by, one employee that maybe didn't work out or didn't have, the same goals in mind as the rest of the company. So you always have to think back that, this is the best for the majority of the group, as well as overall the business for that. And I forget the first part of what you had asked there, but I don't know. I mean, it's always a difficult decision,
Yeah.
to make those decisions and uproot somebody.
And I think that it's it's like you said, is that if it ever gets to the point that it's not a difficult decision, then, you might not be in the, it might not be in the right line of work. But, at the same time, I guess, there is kind of the, like you said, it's not just about one person, it's about the whole team. But
I think, just to add to that real quick,
mm-hmm.
Some of the decisions that I've made and maybe have led down to a path where an employee didn't work out were some rush decisions. So as a business owner, I've learned that in the past, that, hey, I've got a bunch of work coming in, I need somebody. And you go out and you get, I don't know, you get 10 candidates that all appear to be pretty good. You pick the best one, and like, that's what I got. I got to go with it because I got to have a decision. I got all this work. And I think, that could come back to bite you. You really want to find somebody that's a long-term solution and not somebody that's going to get you through the next couple of weeks, because after the next couple of weeks, if there's some rough spots in there, it just causes a lot of issues. And then, you've wasted a bunch of time training and everything else that goes involved in bringing a customer on board. So I've come to that realization after making some of those hires. And now even there's periods where I really need somebody, but there just wasn't anybody out there that I felt comfortable with. And we just put it on pause and wait a month and then try again. So I think I've had better success that way lately.
Yeah. It's the, kind of that sense of that feeling of urgency, is something that, I mean, it just kind of weighs on you, and it just kind of affects your decision making. I remember when I first started driving, I remember probably the best driving safety tip that my dad ever gave me was, don't be in a hurry. He's like, make sure that whenever you're going somewhere that you always give yourself plenty of time, because that's when a lot of mistakes happen, is where you're rushing or whatever, and you take a risk that's a little bit bigger than what you would have, and then all of a sudden that's whenever an accident occurs. And so I think that it's certainly not unique to hiring decisions or decisions, and it goes the other way too, right? Like, I think a lot of people that end up in a wrong decision, take a job that maybe later on they wish that they wouldn't had, probably are also feeling that sense of urgency where it's like, I need this and I need a job, and it just puts a lot of pressure into what is likely a very complicated decision anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's part of, as an owner, the things that we have to kind of weed out when we're looking for that next employee is the person interviewing because they really need it and they're saying all the right things because, they need the job and they know what they need to do to get a job, or are they saying it because, inside and passionately they feel the same way we do as a company, and that's what we're looking for. So it's more than a 30-minute interview. You really got to make sure, do your homework, make sure that the employee you're looking at is true and that's somebody that you want to add to the company. But going back to the whole you having to let somebody go, I have a business coach, and she told me, that nobody ever regrets. I mean, it stinks. It's not fun, but nobody ever regrets usually letting somebody go after the fact. A week or two or a month has gone by. And this is what we have to do as a business owner.
Yeah, and usually I think that, and I have found that this has been true in my experience, is that on the other side is that it's not a kind thing to keep somebody in a position where they're not being, where they don't have a high chance of being successful, and it's that's not that's not a good thing, because the two ways that you have to handle that is that either you're in a situation where you're just constantly in this state of failure and not in inadequacy, or you're in a situation where somebody's compromising their standards to accommodate you, and neither of those things feel good for anybody. People want to win, people want to be successful, and it's like
that sets a bad precedence for the rest of the employees too, if it's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's you in that situation. I was talking to a friend who was dealing with some issues like this or whatever, and they had an employee that was working with them they didn't feel was at a really high level, and the way we kind of broke it down is like, all right, well, hey, here's your two possibilities. Possibility number one is that the rest of the team sees that this person is not performing at a high level, and they see that you are accepting of that and tolerating of that this is your new standard of what excellence is. And then the other possibility is that everybody's looking at this employee and they think that they are doing a good job, and now you are confusing the rest of the organization about what it means to do a good job. And so it does not do anybody any good to shield them from expectations, right? And so or to protect them from consequences. So it's anyway.
Yeah, I have a sticky note on my desk and underneath, because in human resources, dealing with issues with employees, you get stuff all the time. But a sticky note on my desk that I keep and I always look at multiple times a day, it says, if you allow it, you promote it. And so there's a lot of times it's tough to have that conversation, but even with performers that are doing really well, but there's something that they're not doing that's irritating or bothering or causing the business issues, you got to address it immediately. So anyway.
Do you find that, have you found it helpful since you have started using some, the profiling tools as part of your interview and onboarding process, and just kind of the MO that y'all are running as a company? Do you find that some of those conversations about holding people to account, holding people to the expectations and levels of performance, does that, does this make it easier to do that?
I think it does make it easier. Especially with like disc profiles and things like that, I understand what drives a person. It helps, not always, it's not 100% accurate, but it definitely gives you ideas of what drives a person, so you can look to see what motivates them, have the conversations and gear it towards, if we need to improve on something, or even if you're just trying to, give an award. Sometimes somebody would rather have, it broadcasted in a meeting that, that Joe Blow did a fantastic job on this project. And sometimes, you have people that prefer, give them a $20 Starbucks gift card, and they would rather that than have something, done in a meeting. So it kind of varies between people, and trying to figure that out and just make sure that keep people motivated, I guess, is a hard job. But I think the profiling definitely helps that.
Well, it's at the very least, it is a starting point for a conversation. It's like whenever, anytime that we bring in some kind of profiling tool in our business, is that we always let people know, like, you are free to disagree with anything that shows up in this report. Like this thing says, like, oh man, it says you're a crazy big extrovert. And it's like, you're the one, you're the one who's been living in your skin, your whole life. And so you tell us if this is true or not. But, most people, I think, do find that there's, do find some consistency or whatever. And even if they don't, at least now that's something like what you're talking about, where it's like, hey, would you, some people would rather, be recognized in a meeting versus be, patted on the back privately with a nice thank you note and a gift card or whatever. Having a starting point where you can say, hey, this is, like, how would you, like, what do you think? It seems like you're the kind of person that enjoys a little bit more of the public recognition. What do you think about that? I think it's easier for people to respond to that than it is to just sit them down and say like, well, hey, you tell me, how do you want to be managed? That I feel like that's kind of a cop out. It's like, you're the manager. Aren't you supposed to figure that out? Aren't you supposed to help me figure that out? So,
But it's without training, without education. I'm assuming they teach that in business school and marketing and human resources, which I didn't get in engineering school.
mm-hmm.
But that's tough to learn. I mean, I'm still learning, and that's probably been my biggest challenge as a business owner, especially when you start to grow your business and add, multiple employees. It's huge figuring out what drives or motivates every person, because they're different than yourself. And we're, not to say that it's different, but we're, in a artistic, creative type world where we're, creating custom homes and very crafty, creative, artistic. So we fall on a different spectrum than, say, an accountant would. And maybe it's a little easier for me being an engineer, that I fall more towards the accountant. Like, it's black and white, 2 + 2 is 4. But in our world, sometimes the best creators and the most artistic, it might not be 2 + 2 = 4. It might be, 2 + 2 - 2 = 2, or whatever. I mean, they have a creative way of getting there. But anyway, it's fun. I mean, I wouldn't want to work with a bunch of robots. We always joke as business owners, if we could just get a clone of ourselves, it'd be so much easier. But you really wouldn't want to live, in a business like that, or a world like that. We need creativity and diversity.
So what is, as a business owner or whatever, I guess, what is the, kind of to that point, and we can maybe wrap up on this one, is, as you have learned these lessons, I would assume that earlier on in your career, you wore a lot more hats, and as you have grown, you have been able to shed some of those. And so, what is the time, like, I guess, like, which of those seats are you most grateful that you do not have a clone of yourself working in there, and you have somebody that is different from you? Like, I guess, where are you the most relieved that you have been able to fire yourself from a position in your company?
That's a difficult one. So, I mean, just some of the creativity, even in the design world. I come from engineering, so it's, I mean, I know structural wise of a home, how it goes together, where we need to put 2x4s, where 2x6s go, where the LVL beam needs to go. But I have some really, really creative people that come up with, great ideas about non-conforming lots. We had a triangle lot one time. I had an intern. She came up with this phenomenal design on how to grade this house that didn't have any square walls hardly, but fit on this triangular lot. So, I mean, I'm happy that I have additional designers. They always coming, thinking out of the box. Accounting, but to be honest, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, the thing that I don't really like to do is, go out and ask for money. So, I mean, that's the only way business stays in business, right? Before I hired a customer relations manager, I had bills that were 2 or 3 months old, and I was always focused on, the next project. Like, I need to create the next design. I need to get the next person happy, finish their project. And sometimes we didn't have a great accounting system, and we would finish the project and I would just forget to bill a customer. And so obviously it's hard to stay in business if you're not, billing and collecting money. But I hate following up with people. For me, like, I get a bill, I pay it. If it sits on my desk for, a day or two, it aggravates me. But we have a lot of customers who, will wait the 30 days or wait, till we've emailed them the third time to say, hey, we hadn't received your check, before they pay. And so our customer relations manager does a phenomenal job with, just monitoring that, keeping on track and following up and being persistent about, hey, we still need paid. We still need money. So that's probably the job I just doesn't fit my personality very well.
And, to encourage anybody out there that might be, needing a little bit of, like, I guess, was it scary for you to hire somebody to do that? Was it like a little bit,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge part of your business, right? It's your accounting, it's customer relations. I mean, that's like, you get into business a lot of times thinking that you do it because you're the best. You're the person that the customer should see first. You should always be involved. So yeah, it was definitely scary, but I mean, again, she's remarkable. She doesn't mind doing it. And she does a phenomenal job with it. And it's a job, I've asked her before about, I just always feel guilty about following up with somebody and they're in a bad situation, or I hear their guilt story, that their car died and the battery's not working, and can they wait another few weeks to pay? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine, no problem. But she's like, this is a business, and she comes to work, she makes the calls, she follows the line, like this is what it says. You're going to pay within 30 days. We need our money. So anyway, yeah, it's been great. In fact, it's probably like the one job that I would be the most scared of having to replace.
Well, and it's, kind of like, just like a lot of, when you get onto the other side of a good decision, the right decision, even though it's a little scary at first, it's just, I can sense the weight that must have been lifted off your shoulders whenever that was no longer your thing. And I just think about, how your performance in every other aspect of running the operation and leading the team and, serving your customers, must have gone up.
Yeah. And the customers, oh, it's huge. And the customers appreciate it. I mean, they have more constant, feedback, contact, that she gets great reviews. Every customer I have is, phenomenal. That our customer relations manager is, over the top, loves everything about it. And she does a fantastic job. And yeah, it's a huge burden that I don't like. Money comes in, I don't have to ask about it all the time. Don't have to follow up with 10 customers that hadn't paid and they still owe a bunch of money. Yeah, huge. I mean, like not going to the dentist, huge.
Well, man, I just I appreciate all of the insight, and it's I think my big takeaway from this conversation is that it's just kind of this combination of just kind of this the constant learning and the constant whether you're talking about learning about the industry, learning about your people, but just being intentional about always having that rhythm of learning. And then, but learning is great and it's fun, but then the other side of it is that you got to act on it, and so sometimes that means making tough decisions, or sometimes it means taking a leap, like I know we didn't get a chance to talk too much, but I know you guys are getting into the interior design stuff now, which is, it would have been great to just sit and learn about, oh yeah, that's really interesting. Maybe that's something we could do. It's a thing of a different order to step out into a new part of the industry, step out and offer a new type of a service that y'all have not done before. And so, it takes both sides of it,
It does. And that's something that I don't have a huge background or knowledge on. So I'm relying on the people that we've trusted to hire and giving them proper training, and so that we can provide those services. So it's a little unique. I know a lot of business owners may go manage a company and they build widgets, and maybe the manager doesn't know like how the widget's made or what the widget does, but they're really good at like managing the business, right? So I'm starting to get a little bit into that with this interior design option, which I'm really excited about. They do a phenomenal job, but it's something that if a customer comes back to me and is like, why did you pick this color? Like, I don't know really. Why would you pick that color? But we'll cross those roads when we get there. But they're really talented, great set of employees that we've got.
Yeah. Well, certainly wish you all the best of luck with that. And we'll have all of your contact information in the show notes for everybody. But for those that are just happen to be only listening, if they have gotten to the other side of the holidays and realize that they really need that Christmas tree closet or the bigger dining room, or where can they find you to get help with that, or just pick your brain on something that we've been talking about on the show?
Yeah, so they can follow us on Facebook at Tracy's Custom Home Design. We also have Instagram, Pinterest. We're actually working with social media, trying to hire a social media coordinator. We may do some TikTok videos in the future. But we're located in Farmersville, Texas, which is northeast of Dallas in the Metroplex. And our website's www.tracyscustomhomes.com. And we're the leaders in the rural area of northeast, the Metroplex. We're happy to help any homeowner that's looking for a new house or to remodel their current home.
All right, man. Well, everybody, please feel free to hit up Roy with on that, or if he's been very gracious with his time here, and I know that he's always very happy to help somebody that's maybe not quite as far down the road as he is on any advice about how you might want to continue to get better at business. So Roy, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. To those of you who are out there listening, we appreciate y'all as well. Roy, it's been a blast. We'll do it again sometime.
All right. Appreciate it, Travis. We'll see you at the tailgate sometime, maybe.
Hopefully so. All right. Thanks, man.